stability in these rounds. I think it's safe to say that Renegades are going to just play this brutal, no respect CS until Downfall can manage to control it. I think that's the way that they will always play against teams that they will deem to be lesser than them.
Yeah, the reality is for Renegades, like, even the next map coming up, Inferno, Downfall's pick. You mentioned that Renegades pick into it a lot. It's actually their most picked map, so it is statistically their first pick, and Downfall have chosen it. Now, let's sit down and be realistic. We had an interview with Moop, and he said they're coming into this to learn. And the reality is, if you play Renegades on their 2 best maps, and they're also maps that you play and that you've got some practice on, that's a great learning opportunity. And I think that's probably the best thing they can do in this series. You can pick Overpass, like Tom said. You're not going to learn anything if you lose it, or not as much as you would get value out of this. And as well, you're obviously going to be in a position where... oh, hold on. Ooh. That's a nice trade straight away. Savage able to come through it a little bit more. Downfall. They're in a 3 versus 2. Renegades got that plant out as easy as can be, but it's not going their way afterwards. The pistol's picked up by Downfall. This is a great sign straight away, because you've got Savage and 2D, 2 huge players for this team, when it came down to their earlier game versus Ground Zero, already showing up in the pistol round. That's a great sign.
It is a great sign. You've given a 15-year-old who is having a shot at the best team in the region some confidence immediately. That is probably one of the worst things you can do if you're Renegades, because a lot of the 15-year-olds that are coming through, they are learning this no respect, no fear style of Counter-Strike, and that is working for them. So let's just see if that continues on into future rounds, but the prospects are good. And again, we see this meta where we've got Renegades, they've got the plant, so they're going to be buying into this. If you didn't have the scoreboard to assist you, you really wouldn't know who won the pistol.
Very true, very true. It's the downfall, I think, of the current economy system, unfortunately, but Tom was mentioning it earlier. I was just tweeting out about it. I hate it. I've hated it for the longest time, but here we are. Oh, Mizzy. That flash was so good by Sicko. That was just pinpoint accurate. Ince has managed to take down Licky. The site is overrun, and you win the pistol, but your reward... I've said this before, right? If you manage to come in and get a bomb plant and lose the pistol round, that is the best possible scenario, economically anyways. Because you come into this round with an equal, or in some cases better buy. You're on the T side, so any disadvantage you have, like when they've got rifles, you can make up for that with the numbers. And then the other side of it is, when Downfall lose this, they don't get the extra bonus. They don't get $1,900. They only get 14. So if you take the weapons away from them, and that's why you'll see them hunting them down, Downfall end up in a position where they're eco, and even though you've lost the pistol, you go 2, maybe even 3-1 up in the half.
It really is the best way to lose, if you want to put it that way. I think now we have a scenario where the CT economy's just been rocked. There's the option that they have is to, again, try and force the issue here and just try and play this dangerous game of forcing in. But that flash that opened up this B-bomb site, there was nothing Mizzy could do. He was just dead to rights. He was completely taken out of play. But that's the level of detail that Renegades go to. Even their most basic hits have all bases covered. So this is going to be a rough ride, at least in the initial stages, or Downfall. Positives, they took that first round, but this can quickly spiral out of control. And also, if they continue to play a very dangerous game of economy war with Renegades.
The issue for them, like, so second round, Renegades come in, they force buy, they get pretty much the same kind of investment that their opponents did, right? Those buys were pretty equal, as you said. Now Downfall force buy, it's 1-1, right? They're tied up, they're even, but they've got 3 deagles and 2 rifles, and the rifles are only what they've saved over. So that is a huge disadvantage, and even then, one of the rifles was dropped straight away, 2D taken down in the window. Moop has managed to recover that, but you see the big problem really with that boost alongside the bomb plant. I feel like that can be balanced relatively easily, that like, if a... I think just go back to the old economy system, actually. Scrap what I was going to say to recover this one. 2 years ago, rewind the clock, bring us back there. Like, the reality is, if you're, you know, winning a round and losing straight after, you deserve to be reset. Like, that's a punishment that, well, it's deserved. Doesn't mean more eco rounds, but it is what it is. Anyways, we're in a 5 versus 4, and Renegades want to take the A site. Utility already coming over, but look at the little stack.
They are prepared for it, but the utility is going to be key here for Renegades. As are now just going to try and pick things apart. Moop is just trying to pick the gap between everything, but he is booked. Sicko will roll on through to the A ramp and see what else he can find, and it's just a shooting gallery here. Mizzy does provide some stiff resistance, but need to be careful. Don't overextend yourself here, Renegades, because Mizzy and Licky are both grouped up, but Sicko knows no fear. At least for the moment, he is just going to continue to harass them. The retake prospects aren't looking good, but Mizzy is taking some weapons out of the economy. However, it is still quite strong if you compare it to the CT side. And again, bought into it. The CT economy is just going to continue to bleed until that loss bonus can cover everything for them at the moment.
And so, as I said, you know, you lose the pistol and you end up 3-1 up, essentially, off the back of an even second round. It's always a scary time for Downfall. That's got to be deflating because they won that pistol in a fairly convincing fashion, right? Savage and 2D just tapping away those heads. And now here they are, behind in the game, forced to eco. And I feel like, especially at this point, when you're in an eco, it's like having your face just rubbed in the dirt. They're really just highlighting to you, like, by the way, you're losing this round. You're behind, by the way. You're not going to get anything done. They tried to stack up A, 4 players close on CT, one slightly further back with a flashbang, but nothing worked out in that regard. They realize it's a B take, and so they stack up in CT, but they've been spotted. Here comes the SMG. Mizzy has that flash to throw around the corner. Here it comes. It's up high, but they've turned. They've dodged it, and the SMG's farmed so much money. It's Malta with a 4K, and although, obviously, versus an eco, it's not exactly impressive, what is impressive is the cash flow that they've got to work with now. On the back of losing the opening round of this game, Renegades are 3-1 up with an insane amount of money on these players.
And Malta's just gone to town. He has made mincemeat of the CT side, just all trapped in CT. So we finally see our first gun round coming out, and more importantly, 2D on that AWP. So he's got himself some prime position, but the commitment from Renegades isn't there. They're just holding back and seeing whether or not Downfall are going to do something a little bit funky, because teams in their position may often be led to try and do something funky on that first gun round. So looks like both these two teams are just going to play it fairly standard, fairly default. Malta hanging on to that Mac 10 along with INS. So banking on the fact that the CT side are not going to have head armor, and that is ringing true. If they catch them out with these Mac 10s, that could spell trouble.
It could indeed. Trouble is afoot. We'll see what Downfall are able to do. Really, I'm looking at 2D. I'm looking at that op. I mean, we all are, but he's not doing anything just yet. Just holding top mid as they rotate safely through spawn. He could be a huge player, but I think they kind of know that because they're not challenging him. They're moving over towards the ramp where they're just going to push out onto the A site. They've already done this successfully. But now against the rifles, it does present a bit more of a challenge, but it's more mid-centered for Downfall. They've got one player passive in CT who's forced back by the smoke. A flash comes over from mid, but they can't really do anything off the back of it. It was, if anything, just a wasted flash from the CT side. And now it's just down to waiting for this retake. The spams are dangerous with so many players and so much freedom given to Renegades, but it's only kept up for a second, so no punishment. And they lose so much time. Renegades have perfectly pinpointed the weakness, really, at the moment for Downfall in that setup, at least. Having gained practically no information is a really worthwhile gamble.
It is now 4 versus 5 as Sicko goes down, but Malta has pushed through. So he's tried to split the atom somewhat. Moop's already on the bomb site. So Dexter here is in a very precarious position, and he can only get one before he is traded out. So now Inns and Malta have to combine. Malta on the AWP, not something often seen, but now Licky is forced to lick his wounds as he retreats back into CT. And I think Malta may have gotten onto this. And for the moment, Licky's not going to try and push the issue too much further. He will take his weapon, but the thing for me in that round was a 5 versus 5 for a lot of it. In theory, that is one of the better retake scenarios for the CT sides, because there's only so many places that you can hide as a T in that A bomb site. So some decent utility was left on the Downfall. The retake could have potentially been on, but the post-plant positioning from Renegades actually held really well. And now they're trying something a little bit different, but it's on an anti-eco. They're just trying to take some control back of mid. They didn't do this last round. Renegades just sat back and waited to see if Downfall would be the aggressor, but once they had that information, they were quite comfortable in just turtling back up and hitting that A bomb site, knowing that Downfall weren't going to do anything tricky and push.
We spoke about giving Savage the confidence early on, and not a whole lot has come from it. If Renegades do start to really beat down that dominance, I'm quite scared for what's going to happen over on the Downfall side. They've got a lot to adapt to. I mean, now we're seeing Renegades shift from a straight-up A rush to moving over towards short control, smokes down on middle, taking the control, knowing that they've got the range advantage in this round where there's no op to play around. Unfortunate for Moop. He grabs one but couldn't quite retrieve the AK. Now moving into the side itself, Renegades have got a lot of control. However, they've got low HP on hats. That could be a USP kill for 2D. Licky and Savage, two insane fraggers for this team previously. And Savage has gone undetected in Palace. They don't even seem to be fully aware of that possibility. Malta's playing very passive on it, and they are definitely aware of it because of how passive this angle is. But Malta's got a 50-50 to cover, and that's the problem, right? Savage swings out, he takes him down. Now it's Sicko's job to trade, but he couldn't get there in time. His responsibility was watching for the short push through ladder, and now Hats, Sicko, they're trying to get these fights on range, but Hats is so low, he's got a head peek, and that bomb's just being defused. Rounds one. This should be done and dusted, and indeed it is. Savage had such an easy kill there. A 3K, an op retrieved, and a fantastic answer back by Downfall.
Excellent cover too by Savage as well. He was just darting around, moving like a gypsy, that Savage swing, if you want to call it that, as he was just able to defend his teammates successfully there. But, I mean, things were actually quite good here for Downfall. They made those deagles work with some handy deagling, but, yeah, Savage's position and gameplay in that round was superb.
It's a hell of a momentum bringer as well, right, Jim? Like, to be able to win a round where you've got all those pistols and now you've got a double op setup. This is a lifeline for Downfall to make up for the early game. And Savage immediately opening this round on the Hats. The nade delivered straight to Dexter's door. And that is a huge start into this buy round without an op even needing to get involved. And we know what 2D can do with this weapon when he's given the opportunities. This is scary now for Renegades. You can see they've pumped the brakes.
They have just sat back, paused here. Missy's going to take the opportunity. Doesn't land the shot, though. So, cannot continue to capitalize on the player advantage for the moment. But Renegades have firm control of mid. They don't have any extra pressure coming onto this A-bomb site. They will just leave Dexter, though. He is effectively the splinter cell that has been left in connector. 2D actually does manage to find Sicko, and Savage combines to find Dexter, who was just trying to slip the net, trying to make something happen, and it's left Renegades in a really tough spot here. Malta and Inns, two sharpshooting players, will try and bail the round out for Renegades. They don't have time to mess around too much. They are going to be on this bomb site. Trade is good. So now it's all on Inns, who has this 3 versus 1 immediately, but then that fourth player over towards the A-bomb site is going to be a latter concern. He's made his presence known, and this is going to be difficult because now he has to get this plant. And they can afford to try and take him here, but they do not. They choose to group up. Downfall do take him eventually. And it was well played from Downfall. They knew they had the player advantage. They didn't want to give that 1v1 opportunity to Inns. He's a dangerous player at the best of times, let alone if you play into his hands. Here we see, just a collection of that round as it panned out. Now, from Downfall's perspective, they need to continue the momentum here. They have taken a few losses, but it's not going to be enough to stem the economy for them just yet. It's Mizzy again, looking for an opening here in the B halls, but Renegade's presence in this round is going to be late control of mid. We've got Dexter just prying through the underpass. But one thing I've noticed from Downfall is they are happy to let Renegades have this early mid control.
I'm quite surprised, but I think that's off the back of the scare they had, where obviously they played heavily towards middle with Savage and 2D, and they just got locked out of the A-bomb site. And Renegade's willingness to just go for this very one-dimensional A push has probably caused them that little bit of a scare. Instead, they go for the control on ramp, and 2D connects a very good shot to Malta. Puts them ahead by quite a bit. But the problem is, obviously, they've sacrificed the mid control. They saw the rotates back, though, so at this point, they'll suspect it to be a B hit. At the same time, though, Renegades know that. And again, slowing down the round would be ideal for them at this point and try to read the rotates late. But there's only 40 seconds left, and 2 opening duels swing to downfall immediately.
This is not looking good for Renegades. A lot of work to do. Sicko immediately traded out by Licky. And it's now on Ins and Malta, who's just been felled. And completely blind now, Ins. Downfall are looking fantastic. And I think it's important to note, they're surrendering mid-control early on to Renegades, but their focus is on either the B halls or it's on the A ramp and even Palace at the very least. That's where their focus is. They're happy to let them have that mid-control, but more so for the sake of self-preservation. They don't want to lose that opening pick to Renegades. They're trying to give themselves the best possible chance, making Renegades force all the moves.
It's a good setup as well because they're waiting in the first couple seconds of the round to see if Renegades push into a site quickly. And then if they do, oh, hold on. Savage has got the position in underpass. He's swinging. He's looking for some fights and he doesn't get anything done. Shut down by a Tech 9. This wasn't the round to play aggressive. An AK retrieved now as Dexter looks to do some damage with it in towards the A site. Mizzy returns the advantage and puts it back into no man's land. But these pistols are ready to swarm into A, and Moop is all alone here. 2D's on the rotate, but Moop goes down. The recovered AK doing even more damage. And downfall, well, they might have gotten a bit too big for their boots in this round. It's still a 3v3. The AK up close. The shot missed by 2D. A hard flick to hit. A bit of an overextension again. And even despite this damage down to Ince and Dexter, they've got the saw. No! The flash pulled by Licky. Dexter was down on 29 health. It would have been an easy fight if he kept his rifle out. But he didn't expect such an aggressive swing, and look how that round has just fallen apart, Jim. And this is the exact round that it would have been helpful to have the kind of setup that they had, relieving any mid-control, just giving it to Renegades and holding the sites themselves, then getting late round pushes. But I guess versus Pistols, they thought they didn't want to go for that, where they're forced into either pushing Ramp, Palace, or B-Apps, because, hey, you could just run into 4 pistols, and that's pretty much the end of the round. It wasn't too much of a risk to have Savage underpass, but as soon as Dexter hits that shot, you could just see the round was in grave peril.
Oh, it was disaster. You hand Dexter the AK, and he goes on to take another 3 with it. So you could see Savage, he gave away the gift to Dexter that he needed. And he just went on to plow on through, and unfortunate timing for Licky, but you could see the bait and switch was well in play there for Renegade. So Licky wasn't aware to the fact that there was going to be a second player there, peeking him almost immediately. But now they find themselves buying in with a double AWP setup downfall. So let's see how they make this work, because we already know 2D likes to make his presence known around mid, and Mizzy has shown, I guess, at least some AWPing towards those B halls, but is there anything different that they're going to pull out here? We know that they've even gone as far as pushing A ramp with 2D, trying to make those picks work, but double AWP setup's a big roll of the dice sometimes against a team like Renegades. Once they cotton on to that, you're really going to have to play hide the AWP against them.
Look at this aggressive spot by Ince as well. He's gone all the way up on ramp looking for that duel, and he's caught Moop out straight away. The nade almost cost him his life, actually. Savage peeked up just a second too late as 2D gets wallbanged to death all the way through the apartments. Jim, this is falling apart now for Downfall. And Renegades took a while to figure out how to get this going. They're running into the heavy stack setups of Downfall. Losing against those pistols obviously hurt them quite a bit. But now it seems like they've got a little bit of a read on what's going on. They're shutting down that ramp aggression, realizing they're getting mid-control for free, and punishing them when they try to take the control elsewhere. That's the problem with giving up mid, is that you do have to push up on A or B. You have to get the info somehow. And as soon as Renegades realize that and leave lurkers outside of those sites, you're screwed.
That's no better way to put it. Let's be real. Now, Dexter, again, he's just on that lurk, looking to immediately take another AWP out of the economy of Downfall, but it all just fell apart for them. Sicko, that shot onto Licky in B, that was... that's textbook Sicko. He makes everything look easy with the flicks. And this is going to be a nervous 11 seconds here for Downfall. And then the 5 seconds after the bomb plant, or the bomb has exploded, sorry. I don't know if they're going to be able to save their weapons here, Mitch. That flash is inch perfect, Savage. All he can do is do the dance. He finds one, but not the second. And they hold on to the AWP, and that is it. The economy of Mizzy is the only healthy thing at the moment on Downfall. And the team searching for some good news on their CT side.
Renegades got off to a miracle run on the 3-1 lead, and that the foundations built off the back of that have set them up in a great position to follow through on the rest of this map. Now they come up against what is a very weak investment from Downfall. That AWP only has pistols to flank it, and when you're looking at this from Renegade's perspective, I think they are making the right call, knowing that there's probably an AWP in play at this point, moving towards the A side again quite quickly. And it's how unpredictable they are at the moment. Renegades are going for mid control sometimes with the whole team, sometimes 1 or 2 players just left there. They're lurking, they're straight pushing A, they've got the faster B plays, everything. It's just mixing it up round to round, and it makes it so difficult for a team like Downfall, and for any team really, to get any form of read on how they should be adjusting their CT side, because you adjust it for the play that you just came up against, and now a completely different approach is taken by Renegades.
Certainly left them guessing a lot of the times. Now, Mizzy, he's held on to that AWP for a few rounds now. And it's going to be a race against time for him to do the same once again. But Renegades really aren't spreading out in the same instances they were. They've got the money to go for the punish and try and take those weapons out, but I think they're more cautious than anything else to try and not give anything away to 2D. In fact, they're just going to sit grouped up there on the A ramp. They're quite content. They've got this round. They don't need to push for anything further. They just know that this AWP's still going to be in play, and the CT side will be looking to buy into this next round anyway, with Mizzy potentially even able to drop another AWP to 2D, and they can retain that double AWP setup, though I don't think it's been working for them the way that they would have wanted. They've been out-peaked in a lot of these instances.
And if you look as well at where those AWPs are playing, you can see that quite frequently they're just being smoked out of the sites whenever it comes down to those takes, especially because there's not been any heavy mid control for Downfall. Even when they go for the window peaks like this, the smoke has consistently come over, but this time it doesn't. Sicko instead peaks it with a great spawn. So an adjustment on the play based on the spawn of their AWPer and an immediate opening duel going their way. That is huge for Renegades, and Downfall have lost their AWP. It's picked up by Licky, but oh man, it seems like they just can't get ahead. As I said, once Renegades really get comfortable and get a read on you, that's when the problem comes into fruition. And you could see that Renegades look so comfortable at the moment. Licky, good to return a kill at least. It's now down to a 3 versus 2. The AWP trying to pull that back a little bit further for Downfall. The plant still has to come in, so there's time to play with. The bomb down in the open. They know that these players are going to be crossing over, and Licky misses the shot. This is dangerous. The molly coming through. It's not going to force him out, though. He has the smoke to play around, but peeking with that smoke in play, it's very risky. It obscures your vision a lot, allows them to see your feet or your shoulder as you come around, and that's exactly the problem with it.
The thing is, too, Renegades know that they had to fight in this instance, and they were just ready for that fight. And taking it to Licky now. He is in a 3 versus 1 here, Mizzy. He may even be able to save the AWP again, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He opted to purchase for a teammate with the M4, but this time Renegades are not going to let him get away with it. They're not going to let him take that for another round. That AWP seems to have been around since the dawn of time, for Downfall at least. And it is finally out of play. And the question is, and I think it's just about to be answered, which was, what will Downfall do? They're just going to go for that pistol buy where they can, get their money around that $3,000 mark. And Moop's probably gone a little bit below that for my liking, but the money bonus is going to be able to cover his losses here. So 4-8. Renegades have just built up a nice head of steam, got themselves into this match. Not particularly doing anything special either, just solid fundamental Counter-Strike, making some reads and adaptations based on the information that they're getting from their opposition. And they're just sending players through default rotations. It's nothing special. It's just clinical, but it's what we expect from Renegades.
A smoke and window, one player down mid, and Ince just cleans them up one after another. These pistols are falling. And the ace stolen away by Malta. What could have been as Mizzy falls. It's 9-4, and Renegades are just looking so clean. I completely agree with you as well, Jim. It is just clean, fundamental Counter-Strike. You look at even how they played, not that round, but the one before, in the 3 versus 2. Liggy was trapped in CT, and they had no information on where the third player, or the second player was. So they had 2 players trying to focus him in CT. Excuse me, trying to focus him CT. Sicko going after it with the op, just posting after they'd mollied him out. And all the while, I didn't spot which player it was, but one of them was just looking for the jungle play and then occasionally flicking back to look at ramp. That's very important. They weren't allowing one player to come through and catch them off guard in case Licky was just trying to buy time. So they forced them to take those fights, no matter where they came from, and just covered their bases, always having a man advantage and the ability to trade. This was the other thing about where Sicko was. He was in a spot where he could see CT, but if that player came through jungle, he could flick over and support his teammate who'd be taking that fight. And that's a real problem for Downfall, is that, like, they are actually quite a solid team. Like, that game versus Ground Zero, especially what Inferno was like 16-3 or something like that, wasn't it? It was crazy dominant. It was 2D, just 2D dominating on an op on a map where we usually give the caveat that we don't expect an opper to perform. So, or at least as much as they normally do. So it's been solid as could be. One other thing that's really causing trouble for Downfall is the consistent smokes into window that we've seen come through. This round, though, it's abandoned in favor of allocating those smokes on short. But even despite the smokes and a flash, Mizzy's able to take a kill onto Dexter, opening it up. But even that man advantage only lasts a few seconds.
Yeah, they've got themselves into the position they wanted. They've inserted Hats into ladder room, and they're just going to play around him. They're just going to try now to go back towards that A-bomb site. They've got that progression smoke going up mid-connector. Normally that allows Dexter to get in, and that might even just divert some attention away. Not from 2D, though. He's well aware to the fact that Malta might be coming up the A ramp, and they already know now where Inns is. He struck from Palace not too long ago with that nice 3K here, and it's on Sicko. Progression smoke has long faded, so he's got to get himself into a key position. But Hats is on this long lurk. Do think he's going to have plenty of time to be a real nuisance as well.
Oh yeah, they're just biding their time over on the Renegade side, allowing Hats to take advantage of the space that he's found. He sees the head of Licky, a little too quick to shoot, though, thinking he would be held. Of course you would. Not being able to see the gun and see Licky wasn't looking at him, and the timing on Licky's movement as well was just horrendous. A 2v4, bomb down the open. The barrel, oh, it might have been spotted of Sicko, but it didn't matter because Ince was able to connect it onto 2D first. Gets another as well. Oh, man. Downfall did so well in this round. Everything was set up perfectly for them, and Renegades just come through. Nothing special about that. Ince just came out and took aim duel after aim duel, winning those fights, and now Downfall end up in a 1v2. How is this round falling apart so quickly?
Excellent gameplay coming up from Renegades there. Sicko and Inns, 2 of the most dependable players for Renegades, and they were called into action. And they answered that call resoundingly, as now Downfall have only 1 round left in this half, the favoured half of the CT side. And yeah, this is just everything falling apart now. Inns, again, he's just... I don't know, he's playing a different game. It just looks too easy for him. It's like it's Hello Kitty Adventure Island. That's literally the point and click. That he's playing Sicko. My goodness, not only is that a nasty gap, he's flashed.
Disgusting. Really disgusting stuff. Ince coming up close. He realizes there was a gap from move to move on up. The nade through. There's no way he suspects another player to be close, right? In that last round, I gotta wonder, why was 2D up on top of Ticket in the first place? It was so open. There just seemed to be no need. His teammate in jungle as well, wide swung, stood out in the open in a 3 versus 2 after already losing that kill. Obviously wanted to trade, but it's a little bit late for that sentiment. It's a bit of a disaster. They gave the opportunities away to their opponents in this round. The kills just are not going their way. A plain and simple one for Renegades as they get into the 3 versus 2. Oh my, Missy was spotted. They heard him. They heard him in the molly, but it didn't matter. He's able to hit the first shot, do damage to Sicko. It's winnable, but a wall bang makes it much more difficult for 2D. Oh, he needs this kill. The nade could be good. It's going to bounce, but no. 15 health remaining. Ince just about survives. The op holding the cross is more than enough to close it out. And 11-4 we go. Renegades dominating in this first half, even despite their 3-1 lead that they got off the back of losing the pistol with a bomb plant. It was a crazy injection of rounds, but they definitely also came out looking way better in the buy rounds.
It seemed as though that pistol win from Downfall was it. That was their good news week done and dusted right then and there. So at this half switch now, the onus is on Downfall to try and take a lot of these rounds by the scruff of the neck. Against a team like Renegades, we saw their fundamentals on display. They were solid on the T side. They were doing very, very basic things, and they were getting the results that they wanted. Their CT side, we commented on it earlier. The matches we've seen them play, their fundamentals on the CT side are so good, and they put that down to their coach highlighting their strengths. And they've been able to play off each other so well in these last few competitions. They're getting the results. But now we're expecting the waterfall out of Palace.
And it looks like it's not just us expecting it, Jim. It looks like Renegades might have been expecting it as well, because they just tap away the heads and that waterfall runs dry pretty damn quickly. 12-4, the pistol going to Renegades, no bomb plant for Downfall, and that's the big difference on what we saw in half number 1. That bomb plant gives you the ability to essentially buy up to the same caliber as your opponents, but that is no longer the case. Definitely not the case for Downfall, and we should be seeing 13 go the way of Renegades, and at that point, it is just a deflating situation. And remember, the next map up is Downfall's pick, but it's also Renegades' most picked map, so it is their home turf.
Yeah, I think the statement being made by Renegades right now after that pistol was, don't go chasing the waterfalls. The Downfall just need to stick to the rivers and the lakes that they're used to.
Well, it looks like they're going to go chasing the waterfalls nonetheless. They're coming out. They're looking for the kills. They're finding nothing whatsoever except for a hail of bullets coming their way. Malta with his second round 4K. Oh, no, it was a third round the first half, wasn't it? Oh, that's unfortunate.
One of the highlights of Malta's gameplay has always been his ability on the CT side to find multi-frag rounds. So more often than not, he's finding 2 players before he's even able to be traded. That's one of his key strengths. And the way that he plays around the bomb sites, particularly on Mirage, he just has a great understanding of what his exit strategy is going to be in any given situation. So that's what enables him to be so effective in rounds like that. Just making sure also that he's not putting himself in a position where he's overextended on a round where he knows his opposition are going to have a very light buy. So an advanced position coming up from 2D. I don't know if the opportunity is going to present itself. Renegades play around the smokes, but they don't necessarily fall into the trap of playing in them.
Such an important round, Jim. This is Downfall with aggressive mid control. 3 players sent down, but they're not quite being given the freedom that you normally expect. The SMG on Dexter is holding mid, but very, very passive. Waiting for an opportunity as they cross over. He's going to swing now. He gets 1 to 2D. Here's Ince as well, holding up close in the apartments. He might be caught on his way back. He's going to cross over. He's spotted. He's shot in the head by Licky. The angle being held very patiently by the man himself. But his hats with a FAMAS dances around the back of the bomb site. They have to deal with him. He realizes Licky's going to be coming out of apartments at this point, and he's trying to delay for his teammates to get into position, causing some havoc and dealing damage to Savage, but not enough to take him down. He was trying to create an opportunity for Malta to come in with a kill from short, but nothing landed, and his scout teammate can't really get up to too much if Malta falls. Now it's a P250 that's going to have to be converted over on in order to make these close range duels matter, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. These AKs playing together, they swing on him and quickly deal With another round for Downfall finally connected, they've got 5 on the board. They're going to stop Renegades and not let them get off to a flying start. But even despite the bomb plans, they've lost so many players that their economy is actually quite weak. Even taking a Mac 10 out here, out of necessity pretty much, if they wanted to have full utility on every player. And so Renegades come into this round with still a very even situation and the possibility to force Downfall down to another eco.
That's also going to play on too, in that knowing a lot of these rounds are so close, a lot of teams will knowingly continue to keep buying to put pressure on the economy of their opposition, particularly in situations where they know that they're not too far away from match point. I don't know if Renegades are one of the teams that fall into that sort of trap, but I mean, we're looking at a UMP coming out on Malta who was having to play a little bit closer than he may have liked. We saw the SMGs of Renegades play in more advanced positions in previous rounds, but he's going to be caught out here. They will get themselves onto this A bomb site. Sicko, he's now got to check tickets. Be sure he doesn't get checked out himself. As Downfall get themselves onto the bomb site here, they should be able to get the bomb plant, but Inns makes it more difficult. He eliminates the flank coming through mid, so it is now 4 versus 4. And they've made the call just to get out. Renegades are happy with keeping their weapons, not necessarily forcing the issue here. Their economy isn't too healthy themselves, so they don't want to take the losses. They don't want to have a close loss in that round or a close victory. They were just happy to consolidate what they've got. They've got enough of a lead. They don't need to take any unnecessary risks. So whilst it might not lead to a dominating scoreline, in the end, it's still going to lead them to a victory, they believe. So Downfall find a 6th, surprisingly. But again, on the back of some early picks and making that work, it was just Malta. He was left to play that A bomb site in a close position. They had Sicko on the A ramp, but there's not a lot he could do once they realized where he was.
A good shutdown. One that's needed. But for Downfall, the reality is obviously they only find very little damage to Renegades. They leave the CTs in a spot where with that very passive save call, I'm surprised to see coming out, but happy as well, because this is a team that should be dominating, and they don't want to allow Downfall to pick up, you know, just because they went for a retake, an extra 1 or 2 rounds on the back of it. It's a wise call. And now on 13-6, Renegades get to fight for this round. Problem is Downfall saved over a lot of weapons. And oh, that molly, it's going to force Savage forward. It doesn't tick him away, though. He's still got full health. What that means is no sound cues, and Moop has managed to sneak into window undetected. They might even think that it's clear because of the molly going down. But luckily, they've conceded control of it now for roughly 10 seconds. So they know at this point there's a possibility of a player being here. Dexter still got caught off guard, though. A good shot connected by Moop, as they both cautiously swung into the angle, looking through the kill hole. Moop did exactly that. 5 versus 4. Renegades losing control of window. They want to re-seize it. Inns can't manage to actually get the angle because the grid isn't broken above him. So Moop will be left to just hold off those rotates and make it potentially very quick flank as Inns picks up 1. Bomb's still not planted, but Hats and Inns both go down. This should be the round secured. I think Renegades probably just go for a save even at this point.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that they will go that way, but it was well played by Downfall. They took control of mid. They recognized that they were afforded that opportunity to do so, and they just inserted Moop straight into the window. He actually managed to catch Dexter off guard. I don't know if Renegades expected the play to be that fast. So it is not often you catch Renegades off like that, but Downfall have done a good job, and they are going to try and hunt at least to try and take that AWP out of Sicko's hands, though that is a scary prospect to try and take the AWP off his hands when you're by your lonesome. So he's just gone for some backup. They won't be able to get there in time, and Renegades will hold on to the weaponry as the margin continues to narrow.
The scoreline's getting a lot closer than maybe you would have expected. Certainly when you take a look at how that second half, or the first half ended and the second half began. I think there's got to be a little bit of morale building up for Downfall. Obviously, the prospect of Renegades coming back into this, well, not even coming back in, they are 6 rounds ahead, but building of that momentum to close out the game is definitely still there. There is no doubt about it. They are looking favored. But it's just the fact that Downfall are putting up such a good performance. Remember, they came into this tournament and Moop was very honest with us. He wasn't looking for a major spot. He wasn't looking for the cash. They're coming into this. Obviously, those other things are possibilities and they're big bonuses that they'll take if they're on offer. But the reality is their goals are to learn. Their goals are to develop as a squad and hopefully get to a point where they can realistically compete for these major spots in these big places and against these kind of teams in the future. They know at the moment they're not quite there yet. And that's it's good to have your goals set in a realistic environment, because if you're coming in saying, hey, we're going to beat Renegades, it's a little bit delusional to imagine that's a solid possibility.
It also keeps people's heads very level in moments where things aren't going your way. And I think it's important to note too that I think Downfall have been in many of those situations in this match already. They won the pistol. I think it's very easy to get hard on yourself if you're then losing the follow-up round from that. So they did a good job of making sure that they weren't, I guess, drawn into any situations where they were doing anything silly. They weren't making silly mistakes. You could see that they were being rallied around a game plan, and it's been working for them. Even on this round here, they are down in numbers, but they were down in numbers until that push into CT. But you can see they're not doing anything rash. They're not making any mistakes. They're grouping up and trying to play to their strengths here. Smolter might be caught out. Does get the shoulder peak, so he's just going to continue to fall back and call for that rotate. But this has spurred Downfall into action. Savage, he does open up here, and I don't know if they're going to check for Dexter. But I think they're aware of the fact that Renegades like to play these sneaky angles here. Dexter finds one, cannot find the second. Yes, he does, but he goes down. And Savage, he's looking mean until he is taken out by Sicko over the smoke. In this 1 versus 1, they play a ring around the rosy here, but the stakes are high, Mitch. And Sicko, I think, is giving away his position, but he's still going to make that dangerous cross. Moop is scooped up and spat out by Sicko.
What a nuts play, man. 18 kills now on the board for Sicko, and a very important round secured, putting Downfall on their last legs. The investment here is going to cripple their economy. It's going to cost them everything they've got to invest into this. And their loss bonus is decaying. They're not going to get a lot of money. It'll be enough for AKs on some players, but definitely not a pretty buy if they lose this round. And then they would be, of course, on match point 15-7, about to lose it out. Renegades miles ahead at the moment. You can see what we meant. Eventually, they'd come back in. It was on the back of individual performances. At least that's something that Downfall can hold on to. The fact that the round itself just fell apart by really just an insane shot by Sicko. If he doesn't hit that first through the smoke onto Savage, he'd probably lose that round. But he shut it down, stopped the bomb being planted, and managed to isolate the 1v1. Dexter, just above the smoke and connector. He's got a victim in just a second, perhaps. He hasn't actually been spotted. He realizes that, and a free kill to Savage. Getting out of there is difficult at this point, so he just tucks in the left corner, but he's safe from any spams. And with that, the man advantage for Renegades. Dexter safely out of connector at this stage. And Downfall need to do something drastic to get back into this round.
It's interesting. Dexter's always had this great understanding of how to play around smokes. Previously, in his earlier days, he was known as a bit of a smoke criminal in some of the other teams, but Hats does find Mizzy. And the T's advance into this B bomb site has been halted somewhat. They still have to collect the bomb. They've still got 36 seconds left to do something, but Sicko does again clean up Moop. And it's all on Licky here to try and prevent match point. He's got a daunting task for 4 versus 1. He does have the bomb, however, so Renegades just looking to try group up here, but doesn't manage to take down Inns. Tries to get the spray onto Sicko, but time is against him here. He has to get straight onto this bomb site. No time to mess around and go for the plant, and Renegades will be able to clean him up and bring up match point. So another clinical round from Renegades. Again, just a strong B defense at the right moment from Hats. Was able to prevent a round for Downfall.
Well, Jim, this is, it's not looking good, is it? Downfall just falling apart. And again, I think it's very important in games like this to highlight that this is not an underperformance from Downfall. They're against the best team in the region. They have had some solid rounds, and they forced Renegades to pull out some sick clutches in order to get to this point. Like, if anything, this is a massive positive for what is a very new roster in Downfall, and one that we thought would already be out of this tournament at this stage. So, altogether, you cannot be disappointed if you're these guys. They've taken down Ground Zero. Here's an opening duel for them as well. Even with the weapons they've got, it's a Molotov of all things that finds that Dexter under pressure. Pistols up close. He sprays down 2. No one's even looking at him. He's given the freedom to just find an easy 3K. And with that, the map is gone. Moop's got a 1v3 with a deagle. Oh, he didn't see the player on his left, but Dexter came out for the 4th. What a game by Renegades. Well played from start to finish. But altogether, I think we can